Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back with the tips. Quickly just going to go over my tips last round. I got 8 out of 9. The only one I got wrong was the first game of the round. So I was off to a bad start, but I quickly steadied the ship there. Tipped Essendon to win. I really did expect them to win. I was fairly confident in them getting the job done, but it is Essendon, so I guess you can never really be too confident with them. But anyway, let's just get on with the round 20 tips now. Kicking things off with the blockbuster matchup, Collingwood vs Carlton on a Friday night. Potentially could be as many as 90,000 people packing out the MCG. It's a big game for both clubs. Collingwood, well, I mean, it's against their biggest rival, Friday night. They're top of the ladder by a couple of games now, so you'd think they'd probably have that sewed up. But yeah, they are absolutely flying, and they'd want to keep winning, especially against their old rival. And Carlton, well, this game's critical. If they win this, then I think they make the 8 for sure. If they lose it, then I'd still probably back them in to make the 8 from here with the way they've been going. But they'd fall back into the pack a little bit, and I'd be slightly less confident. But yes, you can't go past Collingwood at the moment. I'm gonna tip this to be a 9-point game. It'll be another close game, but I think Collingwood and I definitely think Carlton will show up. But I reckon Collingwood should get the job done here. Geelong taking on Fremantle at the Cattery. This ain't gonna be a pretty game to watch, that's for sure. Yeah, Fremantle, they've completely fallen off. They started off the season poorly, then they were in some really good form for a while, but now they just look, I don't know, they just look terrible, really. They've been getting smashed quite frequently. Yeah, I reckon this will be Geelong. They came off a loss last round, so they'll be hungry to get back on the winners list, and I reckon they'll do it in emphatic style by 79 points. I reckon this will be a belting. Bulldogs versus GWS. This is going to be an exciting matchup because both of these teams, well, Giants especially, are in very good form. They're both in the mix to make the top 8. In fact, they're both currently in the top 8. It's a Bulldogs home game, but I reckon I'm going to be tipping the upset here. I reckon GWS get the job done. I'm going to be tipping them by 10 points. Their defense has been rock solid. Sam Taylor, if he didn't get injured for a while, I'd have him as a lock for the All-Australian team. He has just been absolutely outstanding. He's definitely the best key defender in the game right now, but I wouldn't have him in the All-Australian team just because he got injured and missed quite a number of rounds, so I think that almost disqualifies him. But he is just absolutely in some of the form of his life, and yeah, and they've got plenty of other players like Stephen Cornelio too, Toby Green. They're both also in the form of their lives. It's just yeah, everyone seems to be playing really well at GWS right now. They had a really crap year last year for some reason, but they've really come good this year, particularly in the second half. And yeah, after all that rambling, I'm going to be tipping them to win by 10 points. Gold Coast taking on Brisbane. Fairly simple result, this one, I would have thought. I reckon Brisbane account for the Suns comfortably by 55 points. Yeah, Gold Coast still not going all too well. And Brisbane, they're in third. This one isn't at the Gabba, but it's still in Queensland, and it's only against the Gold Coast, so I reckon they should get the win comfortably here. Essendon taking on Sydney. This is an interesting matchup. According to my live ladder, Essendon and Sydney are only one spot apart. Yeah, this could be a real interesting one, this one. If Essendon lose this, then they're a big chance of not making the top 8. They still have North Melbourne and West Coast to come, but you'd think if they did lose this, they probably would have to win every other game every game remaining in the season. It's at Marvel Stadium. Should be a cracking game because Essendon and Sydney are always brilliant games. Gee, I don't know. I'm gonna be tipping. You know what, I'm gonna back in the Swans. We've actually started to come good as of late. Beat the Bulldogs, beat Fremantle away, had a couple of other good performances in the weeks before that. I still don't think we're a realistic chance to make finals. If we win every single game from here, then we definitely can. But I just don't see that happening. But I am gonna tip us to win this one. I'll tip it to be, yeah, a reasonably close game. I'll go us to win by 13 points. Showdown fever. Adelaide taking on Port Adelaide. Adelaide not quite out of finals contention, but pretty much. Like, mathematically they can still make it, but as they always say, when you can mathematically still make the top 8, you can't make the top 8. So I don't think the Crows are really a chance of that anymore. Port Adelaide, well, they slipped. Well, they haven't slipped down the ladder, but they've lost their last couple of games, and they're definitely they've fallen behind Collingwood. And if they do lose this, they would actually drop down to 3rd. But I'm gonna tip them to win it. I reckon they'll win in a close one. In fact, you know, I'm gonna tip Port Adelaide to win this one by a singular point in one of the games of the season. Packed out, 53,000 at Adelaide Oval. It'll be a thriller, and I can't wait. I can never wait for showdowns. They always produce some absolutely thrilling matchups. Hawthorn taking on St Kilda here. If you looked at the ladder, you'd think this would be an easy win to St Kilda. But Hawthorn have arguably been playing better than St Kilda in recent times. Saints' 2 most recent wins were both 8 points against North Melbourne and West Coast, who are that much worse than the rest of the competition. It's not even funny. Yeah, I'm going to be tipping Hawthorn in this one. I reckon they should get the job done against St Kilda. Yeah, Saints aren't travelling all that well at all. They just had another injury to Dougal Howard, so they're being struck with injuries once again like they were at the start of the season. And Hawthorn, they've been playing pretty well. Beat North Melbourne comfortably, should have beat Richmond. It was a brilliant comeback win by Richmond. But yeah, I'm confident that they should win this one. Richmond taking on Melbourne now. It's a Richmond home game, but I'd think that Melbourne should. I'm going to tip this to be... Yeah, I'll go Melbourne by 15 points. Should be a reasonable match of footy. But Melbourne, ever since they dropped Grundy, they've looked really good. Max Gawn has looked insane. Definitely would have been All-Australian this season if Grundy wasn't playing in the team, because he has just looked absolutely fantastic these last couple of weeks since he's been the standalone ruck in that team, and I reckon he'll guide them to another victory here. Final game of the round is the Spoon Bowl. West Coast taking on North Melbourne. I have not tipped West Coast all season, but that will be changing here. At home, against North Melbourne. They've actually, despite how terrible they've been, they have been mostly competitive at for home games. They had that one really bad loss against Carlton. They lost by 108. But their last few performances at home haven't been so bad. Lost by 37 to Richmond, which, all things considered, is a lot better than what they normally put up. Only lost by 8 against St Kilda. There was that game against Collingwood, which they lost by 63, although the scoreline really flattered Collingwood, because they were competitive for quite a lot of that game, West Coast. And yeah, I reckon against North Melbourne, I reckon they'll get a win. I'm going to tip them by 8 points. They're still going to be a long way behind North Melbourne on percentage, even if they win this game. And I think they're still going to win this wooden spoon regardless. But I reckon they definitely can win this game. And with that, those are my round 20 tips. So the top end of the ladder pretty much hasn't changed. GWS up to 5th. Carlton out of the top 8. St Kilda just hanging on in 8th spot. Richmond dropped down a bit. Essendon in a bit of a spot of bother here. And then everyone below that I don't really think can make the top 8 anymore. But yeah, that is my round 20 tips. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment down your tips below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.